Hello boaters. Well, a very silly thing happened the other day. It was one of those 10-minute DIY jobs that just went spectacularly wrong and was sort of quite funny. Unfortunately, I didn't video it because it literally was just a quick little DIY job, but I can tell you about it. I was inspecting my batteries. I've had a few issues with my batteries recently, and I noticed that the battery box, which has got like a thin plywood lid on it, the plywood lid was starting to rot a bit and fall apart, and it wasn't in a disastrous state, but it needed a bit of attention. So I thought to myself, well, I've got a couple of pieces of plywood, maybe I could make a new lid. Won't take long. So I measured the lid and went to check the wood that I had, and unfortunately both pieces of plywood were a bit too small. So I went straight to plan B, which was I've also got a few offcuts of vinyl flooring. And I thought, well, if I cut a piece of that, stick it on top of the old lid with some spray glue, that'll waterproof it and hold it together for a good few years until I can replace it properly. So that was the plan. I measured the lid and cut a piece of vinyl just a bit oversize. So I thought, well, I'll stick it down and then I can trim the edges off when it's all done. That'll be nice and neat that way. So I put my generator box on the towpath, laid the lid down on top of the box, sprayed it with the spray glue, and then I also sprayed the back of the vinyl with the spray glue, left it a couple of minutes, and then picked it up and carefully positioned it down onto the lid, or so I thought. Then I stood back with my handiwork, and somehow, and I still can't realise how I'd done it, I hadn't stuck it squarely on the lid at all, and I'd left at least an inch of the plywood exposed on one side of it, and I couldn't believe how I'd done that. So I was rather annoyed. I thought, oh, no, I'm not having this. So I picked it up, got hold of the vinyl and ripped it off. It was pretty tough because it had stuck quite well. And as it came away, it took a fair bit of the plywood with it. And so all the plywood was stuck onto the vinyl. So I was holding up the vinyl, and with my other hand I was picking off the little bits of wood. I thought it's still okay, I can still use it. I'll just pick off the worst of the wood and then reposition it. It'll be fine. However, as I was doing that, somehow I let go of the vinyl and it landed sticky side down on the grass. I couldn't believe it. I picked it up and it was like a thatched roof. It was covered in grass. So, well, there was nothing for it. I was really fed up with things at that point, so I just pulled off the worst of what I could find there, and I just stuck it down onto the lid. I'd had enough. And actually it went down okay, so it wasn't a disaster. It was just two mistakes so close together. I'm usually pretty good at these things. So yeah, it stuck down okay, and I trimmed around the edges, and now it looks fine. It's perfectly usable, but you can never quite foresee all the eventualities that come up when you do these sort of jobs. It's really strange. In retrospect, it would have been good to have videoed, but I find with DIY jobs in general, normally I can't afford to make any mistakes, so I'm super careful, I'm super focused on what I'm doing, to actually try to video it as well is sort of maybe sometimes it's just a bit too much, really. I like to concentrate on one thing at a time and do it, but this one would have been good to a video because it would have been really funny. Anyway, these things happened. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.